Hello there, I'm Tom Nugent, and I am joined by three of the best known names in Irish racing, if not in sport. Davy Russell, Jane Mangan, and Patrick Mullins join me, and this is the Green Corner. It's Cheltenham Eve, and tomorrow at 1:20, the tapes will go up for the first race at the 2021 Cheltenham Festival. A festival like no other for sure, but nonetheless intriguing for that. Each evening on Horse Racing Ireland's Facebook and YouTube channels, the gang will get together and deliver some tea time analysis of the day just gone and attempt to tiptoe through the following day's minefield. My guests need very little introduction, so that leaves us plenty of time to get stuck into looking ahead to day one at the Cheltenham Festival. But Patrick Mullins, the Cheltenham Festival has probably played a huge part in your life. You're a young man still, but growing up, your childhood was punctuated by family members all around you, left, right, and centre, achieving great things over at Cheltenham.
Yeah, of course. I mean, going back Dawn Run in the 80s was kind of the legend growing up. I wouldn't have seen it, but my first memory is of Florida Pearl winning the bumper with Richard Dunwoody in '97, and then I was told I would only be allowed to go to Cheltenham when we had a runner in one of the big races. So Florida Pearl's Gold Cup in '99 was the first year I was there, and I've been there every year since. So starting to feel a bit old thinking that's 22 years ago.
Davey, you've had lots of success at Cheltenham, but just to get a sense of what it's like for jockeys going to the festival, is there an extra bit of pressure? Is there a little bit of more anticipation? Is there a little bit more edginess down at the start?
Yeah, I suppose it's a kind of a cauldron once you get into the weigh room, and once the day kind of starts. It's not the same as any other day's racing. You start an awful lot earlier. You get in, you get your stuff together, and really, once the first race is on, once you get over the Supreme Novices, it kind of starts to flow after that, and it can either flow in a good way or a bad way. It all depends how the festival is going for you.
And Jane, you do a lot of work in the media now, but this time of year, racing creeps into the front pages of big newspapers all across the UK and Ireland. But why is that? What makes Cheltenham Cheltenham? What's the secret sauce that makes it so different to every other race meeting?
I suppose it captures the imagination, Tom. For whatever reason, Prescott Park is the place to be. It's where the best horses line up, and it's where the champions are crowned, essentially. I know it's referred to the Olympics as of racing, and that probably is the truth, but the atmosphere is going to be there this year, and I think we might get an opportunity to strip it back and see why we all fell in love with the sport in the first place, because it is horse racing. We're going to have horses racing. Obviously this year is going to be a little bit different, but the festival is unique. The Irish taking on the English, where we've got a strong hand, and hopefully this year will be a vintage year for Team Ireland.
Fingers crossed it will be. We're lucky enough to be joined by two people who've ridden a number of winners at the Cheltenham Festival. Patrick, we'll start with you, and what is that feeling like? Can you maybe not bottle it, but put words on the emotion for somebody who's crossed the line in front of the Cheltenham Festival?
It depends on the situation. If you're riding a favourite and there's a bit of pressure, then there's obviously relief. Or if you're riding an outsider, it's maybe more enjoyable. I don't know if it's more enjoyable. I think winning on a favourite is the most enjoyable thing. There's that pressure is what makes it special. So it's completely different than anywhere else, because the running in Cheltenham, you got a wall of sound on both sides of you, and then that long walk back down in front of the crowd. You don't get that anywhere else, and it's unique.
Davey, you have had so many big days there, but surely Lord Windermere must be a massive highlight in what is National Hunt Racing's biggest prize.
Yeah, it kind of goes past you in a blur, because you have so much to take in. You've literally the crowd are coming out over the railing to congratulate you. They're a foot away from touching the winner of the Gold Cup, and everything is it's manic, and unfortunately for me, I had to go through a Stewart's inquiry as well. So it just whooshed by me so fast. But looking back on it, it was definitely a day to savour.
We're going to take a look back at the closing stages of that great 2014 Gold Cup.
Followed by the Giant Bolster, and then Lord Windermere, who's never been closer than he is now. They make the final turn in the Gold Cup. Silviano Conti has got the lead. Bosworth on the outside. Lyrene Legend cutting to the inside. On his own is still there. The Giant Bolster is staying on. Triello Delane as well, as they're over the second last. And it's Silviano Conti who has the lead. Drifts across in front of Bosworth, who now cuts to his inside. Still Lord Windermere continues to stay on as they come towards the 22nd and final fence. Silviano Conti had the lead over Bosworth in second. Lord Windermere, the Giant Bolster on the near side, on his own begins to rally. It's Lord Windermere who now takes the lead with on his own rallying to the near side, racing up towards the line. Lord Windermere ahead in front, and Lord Windermere has won the Cheltenham Gold Cup. Lord Windermere wins for Jim Cullity. In second place was on his own, and they pulled a couple of lengths clear of the Giant Bolster, Silviano Conti.
I can only imagine you're kind of in the middle of giving yourself a big pat in the back, and then all of a sudden in the background you hear the bong bong of the Stewards Inquiry bells. It must have been some roller coaster of emotion. You're trying to
Daylight robbery. Daylight robbery.
It was pretty much there was a lot of things going on. First of all, I couldn't believe that I'd won it after coming, I never really travelled during the race, but he jumped really well, and then to get there and think, I'm going to be placed, and then all of a sudden, I have a chance of winning the Gold Cup, and it was tight at the finish, and then walking down the chute, and I was a little bit starstruck, to be honest, and there was then the Stewart's Inquiry. As you said, the bong went out to say there was a Stewart's Inquiry, but that was never in doubt, really,
Never in doubt.
Never in doubt.
No, Patrick. Never in doubt.
A solicitor to speak, I'd imagine.
Jane, as you mentioned, there won't be crowds, but there will be racing, and we've got lots to look forward to, lots and lots of horse racing. We're going to take a look at some of the highlights on day one of the 2021 Cheltenham Festival, and we'll start at the beginning, I guess, which is the most sensible place to start. And Appreciated has been very popular at the top of the betting for the Supreme Novice Hurdle. Tell us about the Supreme picture this year. Obviously, we only have the 8 in it, and the Irish Challenge will be very, very strong.
Yes, we're well represented. There's 8 in there, but 4 for the UK and 4 for Ireland. It's a level enough playing field. Patrick can tell us about Appreciated. He's been pretty flawless all year, and I think he was many a person's banker last year until he stablemate Fernie Hollow caught him in the home run. But I think Metier is an underestimated horse because maybe just because he's going under the radar. He was on the flat, he was smart enough for Andy Slattery here, the same man who sourced Faugheen, and he's done nothing wrong in the UK. But I hope for Patrick and all of Sutton that Blue York can win a big race as well. I think he's nice each way value, but Appreciated. He seems to have a bomb-proof temperament. He seems to keep it simple from the front, and he's able to jump well. So he seems to have the whole package.
Does he have the whole package, Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, he's a beast of a horse. He's an absolute, if you could make a 3-mile chaser, he's what you think he'd be. And that's, I think his future lies I would like to think he'd make it into a Gold Cup horse. And of course, the likes of Best Mate, Kicking King, War of Attrition have all been second in the Supreme and gone on to win a Gold Cup. So if he gets beaten, we won't be too disappointed. I think to win the Supreme will be a bonus. But I do think he's the best horse in the race. He might not be the quickest horse in the race, but the quickest horse isn't always the fastest horse from point A to point B. And I think, as Jane said, his temperament is so good that Paul can dictate the fractions. If they're not going fast enough, he can stride on and take the sting out of the quicker horses behind him. I think he'll win, but as Jane also said, I think Blue Lord is probably overpriced. He's a horse with an awful lot of ability. He's working very well in the last week. He was second to Bob O'Lingro and he was far too keen over 2.5 miles. Next time out, then we dropped him in over 2 miles in order to get him to settle. And obviously Appreciated won that day, but they went quite steady that day. He was and there was a large field, so it was very difficult to drop in and come from behind. So I think there probably isn't as much between Blue Lord and Appreciated as the prices suggest. And if you thought Appreciated was too short for you to play, I think you could, there'll be worse 8 or 10 to 1 shots than Blue Lord throughout the week.
Davey, Jane and Patrick have mentioned temperament there for Appreciated. How important is temperament for a horse at Cheltenham?
In normal years, it's huge because there's so much going on. Obviously, they have to take in the travel. Then they have to take in strange surroundings for a couple of days, and nobody works their horses in Cheltenham. They do an awful lot less than what they would normally do. So it's literally a canter and a trot around in the morning and a pick of grass and back up into their stable. So a horse, and that's the beauty of Cheltenham, and we'll say especially the Irish horses. So for an Irish horse to win over there, really does hold a stance that he is the best, because he has to go through so much. And then you factor in the crowds, and then you factor in the place itself, the actual track itself. It's like no other. So it takes an extra special horse, and not always maybe form that you've seen on other tracks doesn't always come to the fore in Cheltenham, but it definitely takes the best horse to win there. And I would agree with pretty much everything Patrick said. He described Appreciated in every way, shape and form, and I'd be on the Metier list as one of his main rivals. So it is kind of an English-Irish shootout in the first race. You just could imagine being there and the banter going on between both. So they'll have their fans either side. But I'm with Patrick on this one. I think he is a 3 mile chaser in every way, shape and form, and but I don't think he's going to be like them other Gold Cup winners. I think he's capable of beating the field.
The second race of day one is the Arkle, and as you mentioned, we were looking forward to there be an English-Irish shootout in the first race, and we were looking forward to a very big English-Irish shootout in the Arkle, but unfortunately it hasn't come to pass. Energamine obviously out now of the Arkle. Patrick, first and foremost, is he okay and will be fine?
He will be fine. He just gave himself a knock. We'll probably look at Fairy House now, maybe what used to be the Powers Gold Cup, maybe the Ryanair Gold Cup now, but that 2.5 mile novice chase. So it's just a case of unfortunate timing, but every year you get that. And thankfully it doesn't appear to be a long-term thing.
How do you rate Shishkin in that 2 mile division? And is he going to be very hard to beat? Obviously you run Franco Deport, who is a grade 1 winner here this season. Does he have a realistic chance of giving Shishkin a fright?
Look, Shishkin looks different gravy. I mean, himself and Abergabbis are 10 lengths clearance between novices last year. But I do think that Franco Deport is overpriced. Again, he won a grade 1 at Christmas. I know they went very fast up front. Ben Rubin, Felix Desjny and Darver Star were all very keen to be dominant on the pace, and it fell into his lap a bit. But I think that'll be a similar case here. I think Harry Skelton will be lining up like the hounds of hell behind him on All Mankind. Nicola Bombal won't want to give him too much rope. Rachel Blackmore and Captain Guinness, Henry likes his horses being quite handy. I think it'll be a strong gallop, and I just could see it maybe falling apart a bit at the ends, and Franco Deport maybe coming up to pick up the pieces. Now I think he'll probably finish second to Shishkin, but again, I think he's a great price at 8 or 10 to 1.
Jane, I know your internet connection is in and out, but we'll see what we can hear. Shishkin, how good is he, and is there anything that could give him a fright?
Well, Davy Russell knows how good he is. He kind of broke his heart there for day 1 last year. I feel for anybody who was sipping Cheltenham to try and pick up a race at Fairy House and is going to meet an Energamine. And look, Shishkin is a horse that is in many accumulators and is going to be the first leg of many, and I'd be very surprised if he were to get beat. It's disappointing that there isn't more runners, just 6 runners, so for each way players it's not really a race that would interest many outside of the top horse.
Davey, you came very close to beating Shishkin in last year's Supreme. What kind of a horse do you think he is this season? Has he come on a lot from that over fences?
Yeah, he's flawless, to be honest. He was coming from a stable that, you know, was well documented, wasn't in the best of form all through the season, and he coped with he danced every dance. Do you know what I mean? Nicky Henderson is a master at training them horses. He's been down this road so many times before, so he knows what it takes to win an Arkle, and you know, he's pretty flawless in every way, shape and form. He's got them point-to-point experience under his belt. He overcame huge obstacles in his way last year to come and chin me on the line. So he's got substance, and he's battled hard, and he's got pretty much everything. I do like Franco de Port to beat the rest, but Shishkin will be on everybody's lips tomorrow.
Lovely stuff. Well, the big race of day one at the Cheltenham Festival is at 3:05, and it is the Champion Hurdle. And at the top of the market is a mare called Honeysuckle, who has been absolutely foot perfect in her career. And we're going to take a look at her run last time out at the Dublin Racing Festival.
Running round the home turn, good run to the final flight in the Chanel Farmer Irish Champion Hurdle, and the leader is Honeysuckle with Abracadabra gone in pursuit. Charges to do on the outside of Sanois. Petty Mouchoir weakens ahead of Saldir, but Honeysuckle is clear of the field. Coming down to the final flight is 6 lengths up on Abracadabra, and then Charge and Sanois at the final flight, and it's Honeysuckle and Rachel Blackmore steady into it, safely over by 6 to 7 lengths from Abracadabra, and third is Sharjah, and then comes Sanois, but up towards the finish it's Honeysuckle and Rachel Blackmore. 2 stars aligned, retain the Chanel Farmer Irish Champion Hurdle. Second is Abracadabra, and third is Sharjah, and fourth Sanois.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the races of the week. Honeysuckle versus Epitant, and a very good field in behind them as well. Davey, is it possible that Honeysuckle is getting even better than she was already?
Yeah, I would have to agree there that, you know, looking at her throughout her career, she was a little bit behind the bridle. She was jumping a little bit deliberate. But really that day in Leopardstown was just from flag fall was pretty flawless. And she looked like a champion hurdler that day. Her jumping was better. She travelled much, much better. And I think Henry just kind of changed things. She only had the one start before that. And now she's going to be hitting here fresh and well. And in any way, the same form as she was in Leopardstown, she's going to be very difficult to beat.
Patrick, racing needs stars. We always say, and racing needs clashes like this as well. This is a really brilliant champion hurdle, isn't it?
It's a fascinating contest. I mean, you've got a couple of relentless gallopers like Goshen is going to go forward, not so sleepy. Aspire Tower will be going forward. The pace will be strong from the very start. You'd imagine Rachel will probably sit handy and wide, keep things simple. And the key part is, I suppose, does the real Goshen turn up? And if he does, at what stage does Rachel take on him? Does she do it on the run down to the second last? Does she wait after the second last? Does she wait until they get into the straight? And then, of course, you're going to have Epitant. Aidan Coleman's going to be shadowing her. And you imagine Paul Townend on Sharjah will be silhouetting him. So it's going to be a fascinating race to watch down to the last. I think if the Honeysuckle who turned up in Leopardstown turns up again, she'll be very, very difficult to beat, though.
A quick word, Patrick, on James de Burley, who makes his first start for your dad, Willie. How is he going, and what kind of chances he have?
Look, he's a very good horse. We knew that coming, but Ruby's very sweet in him. He's sat in him a few times. He jumps our type of hurdles very well. It's a huge ask to go straight into the champion hurdle, but that's how well he's working at home. So Willie's not sending him over to make up the numbers. So there'll be worse 16 or 20 to 1 shots, but he could run very well and finish 5th or 6th. But really, for him, novice chasing what it's all about next year.
Jane, the 2021 champion hurdle, how do you see it playing out?
If Annie Gelding can give those 2 mares £7, then they will win. It's wonderful they're running in this race and not running 35 minutes later in the mares hurdle. It's going to be a game of cat and mouse from the horses that are going to be stalking, like Sharjah and Epitant, from the horses that are going to provide a target for them to run at, Honeysuckle and Goshen et al. But I'm actually team epatante. I think Mickey Henderson and JP McManus have a remarkable record in this race for a reason. When Bouvier came out and they opted to skip Cheltenham to go to Aintree, that me signalled how confident they were in their charge. So I am one of Honeysuckle's biggest fans, but I must use my head here, and I think my head is telling me so. Epatante.
Very good. Lovely stuff. Well, that's the big races of day one covered off, but we're just going to get a quick word. Patrick, 340, the Mayor's Hurdle, a race that Closutton has an incredible record in, and Concertista tops the market for you again this year. Obviously, she was pretty impressive here last year. What kind of chance does she have in the Mayor's Hurdle?
Sure, look, she has a huge chance. She's been so impressive all year. She's ran very well at Cheltenham twice now on the new course. Over 2 mile 1. This is the old course, which is a sharper course, but it's over a longer distance, so that should negate any difference there, really. I just wonder, does she deserve to be the price she is? She's been beating basically novice mares, which is quite a small pool of horses when you think about it. Whereas Roxana has form against the likes of Time Hill, Paisley Park. That's a fair level of form. So I do think Concertista will win, but I think the prices might not reflect the challenge that Roxana sets up for her.
And Davy, in the concluding 2 races, the Fred Winter and the National Hunt Chase. Galvin, of course, is a horse you came second on at the festival last year, and there's a couple of horses that you might know well in the Boodles as well. Anything standing out in those 2 concluding races?
Yeah, the 4 mile, that's now 3 mile 5, that's be ridden by professionals, that's an amateur race. It's probably the deepest race, novice chases in of the over the 4 days. There's any amount of them with chances. Patrick probably knows Next Destination well enough. I think Remastered has a huge chance. Galvin has done nothing wrong. He really hasn't. I felt if he wore a hood on the way to the start last year, I think he would have got a lot closer, if not beaten, Imperial Aura. He was very keen for the early part of the race and on the way to the start. So he's back over 3 mile 5. Jack knows him well, and he's been around the track a couple of times. He's won there as well since. So he'll definitely have a favourite chance.
Jane, anything else you want to give a shout out to on day one?
Well, the Boodles is a race where I can't get a strong handle on any particular horse, but I do like a mare in that called Riviere to Tell. Davy will know her quite well. I thought she was beaten 3 lengths by the Devil's Coachman last time. If the Devil's Coachman is lining up in the Supreme, I'd give him an each way shout. So in a juvenile hurdle, I think Riviere to Tell might be one for me.
Lovely stuff. Well, there you have it. Day one of the 2021 Cheltenham Festival. In a nutshell, the talking is finally over. The only thing that matters now is what happens tomorrow between the white rails at the Cheltenham Festival. My thanks to the team here, Patrick, Davy and Jane. And of course, thanks to you for watching. Tune in tomorrow. We're back each evening during the festival at 8 p.m. To go through the day that was and look ahead to another day at the Cheltenham Festival. We're back tomorrow, as I say, at 8 p.m. in the Green Corner. Good luck.